I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And we're back with what's now my regular feature of BattleBots Breakdown with Ashley, so that we can talk about all of the matches from the last two episodes, which, woo!
Yeah.
I'm still recovering. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're going to go from, talking about an episode that was fairly low key, as opposed to what we've seen this season, to just like, bam. It's going to be a lot of up and down. But let's start with that, the prior episode. So we're going to start with the Beta versus Kraken. Obviously, I know it wasn't the first episode the first match in the episode, but we're just going to start with that one. So it was our first look at Beta, and in Kraken, as well. So like really exciting to see the new version of Kraken, and a new version of Beta. That's not the hammer that we're used to seeing. And I would say this was probably one of the more exciting matches. I didn't really expect it to be like that back and forth. But like Kraken looked good.
Oh my gosh, Kraken looked amazing. And it's, I was so sad as a fan at the end of last year to hear that Matt was going to retire Kraken. And I literally remember like sitting there tearing up when he said that and me being like, no, I love this robot. Stop it. But to see it come back and to come back with a spinner on the top and just go hard into Beta was absolutely incredible. And I loved every second of it. But yeah, Beta's weapon with not the national, like the hammer versus like the incredible. It was a lot of back and forth, and it was really good to see both robots be able to handle that.
Yes. And yeah, I kind of knew though with the whole Kraken situation, I had a little bit of insight just because I had interviewed Matt and Sarah previously, and I knew that they were coming back, but they weren't bringing back the same version of Kraken. So, I knew that like it was coming back in some way. Yeah. And it doesn't look really drastically different than the old Kraken, aside from having a giant vertical spinner in the middle of the head, which I mean, like you can see the effectiveness of that and how excited they were to see the Kraken doing things that Kraken's never done before.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so, and I love watching Matt's kids and how excited they get, and like to be able to control that weapon and be able to get so many hits in was just so cool to see for sure.
Yes. I mean, it was a very close match. I was, a little bit like back and forth with myself in the end. And I think that it really was just that flurry at the end from Beta, the fact that they did still have a working weapon despite the fact that it was bent. I guess it was just not bent in the place that would prevent it from striking. So, good on them for being able to do that. But I don't think that, Matt and Sarah can be unhappy with that match, because it's a new version of the robot, and I thought it still looked really good against a veteran team.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Beta, I when I watched the weapon on Beta get bent, I went, oh boy, is that gonna work again? And then all of a sudden it was just like hammer, 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 and I was like, okay, it still works. Like, that's fantastic. It's durable. It's proving itself 100%.
Yes. And when you look at the schedule for those two robots going forward, the one I'm personally really excited about is Beta versus Shatter. I'm so hyped for that. I really want to see how that goes. It's really reminiscent, I think, of back when Hydra fought Bronco. And it was like the old, really great veteran team going up against, a newer team that, kind of passing the torch sort of thing. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And then Kraken has Lucky, Copperhead, and Mammoth. It's
that's a schedule.
I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. Like, you don't know that weapon, like, I'm trying to think if Kraken's ever fought any of those teams. I'm sure they have, because Kraken's been around for a while, but I mean, to like see that weapon versus those robots and see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm definitely excited.
Yes. So then we have another couple of teams that we had not previously seen in Black Dragon and Monsoon, which I was again like so hype.
I know you were so excited for Monsoon to return.
I know. Like, I love the Black Dragon team too, but it's different when you have a robot that you love so much and it's been away for a while. I was sad that Monsoon had to be away for a couple of seasons, because I think that, not only is the robot interesting and can be very destructive, but they're such a fun team, and they bring like such an amazing energy into the arena. And I think that like we need to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so cool to see them come back, and they like follow me on Twitter, and they're super interactive. They like all my tweets. So I'm like, yeah, go Monsoon, like, let's go. And like to have such like a big blade to come back, and like, absolutely, both bots looked fantastic. It was so good to see, but it was so good to see Monsoon come back out through that tunnel and just be so high energy, and you could tell the crowd felt it. Like there was no holding back.
Yes, there is no one that knows how to excite a crowd better than Tim. So yeah, and that was another, really like back and forth match where, you saw the tide kind of start to turn towards the end of it. And like, it was rough, because I like both teams, and I really wanted to see Monsoon have a strong showing out of the gate. But Black Dragon is also a very good experienced team, and it's like,
yeah, and I mean, and they both came out hitting. There was no holding back to go weapon to weapon, and obviously Black Dragon had the benefit of their weapons still being able at the end of the fight to be able to knock Monsoon over, and when they don't have a weapon and they can't self-right, then obviously there's nothing you can do. But they both went out swinging, and it was so good to see both weapons just spinning with so much energy.
Yes, it definitely was. And I'm sure that both of them will, continue to bring a lot to the table. Now, Black Dragon has Quantum, Beta, and Riptide, and Monsoon has Horizon, Whiplash, and Death Roll.
Okay, that will be interesting for sure. The Death Roll match will be fun.
I'm gonna be hyped for that one. I'm gonna be so hyped for that one.
That's gonna like blow some energy off the roof, just like on entrances alone.
Yes, exactly. So we'll see what happens. That's going to be what I call, well, it's going to be the Croc-NATO match, because Monsoon versus Death Roll. So Croc-NATO. That's
I'm in. I love it.
What we're going with. So yeah, now I know that the next match that I'm going to talk about, you were excited for, because it was a Norwalk on Norwalk match in Horizon versus Shred It Bro. I'm probably much more familiar with Shred It Bro than I am Horizon. I mean, I know they have Skyline obviously at Norwalk. So Horizon is kind of like a somewhat scaled up version of Skyline. It's a little bit different in a couple of ways, but still very much the same. I'm curious to hear what you thought. I mean, it was not the match that I hoped for. It was kind of slow going. There was obviously like a really big hit in that match, and I think that probably made the difference there. But yeah, it was okay. They're both trying to figure it out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know too much about Horizon. I know a little bit about Peter and his sister and everything that they do with repeat robotics, and they just had a really great showing at NHRL like a couple weekends ago. But obviously, like, I know Shred It, I know every single person on that team. I've had a conversation with every single person on that team, and I know how much work went into that robot. And to see it come out and just be like, oh, I'm wondering if there was traction problems with the wheels because it seemed like Evan never really got up to speed. The weapon was definitely spinning and you could hear it and it was getting power, but they were not able to deliver those big hits that he's so used to in the Beetle. But I know that they went back and I know that they tweaked, and I'm definitely excited to see like where they went forward. But yeah, even Horizon, like it seemed like only one side fully spun up. So once they get those tweaks going, I'm ready to see that thing roll. Like I want to see them deliver some hits. Like I'm ready for it for sure.
Yes, it is. It is truly a really interesting design. I love it. And yeah, I mean, you could tell Evan was so happy to get that win, even though it wasn't like a dominant win by any means. He was so happy to do it. And then now after like that whole win and stuff, I want to see how many more Luke memes we can get out of the season.
I did appreciate the banana for scale when they pressed the button. Big shout out to Remy. Like, absolutely love them. And I can't wait. I know how hard they worked, and I do have some obviously really close friends on that team. So I'm ready to see the next 3 fights.
Yes, we will see. Now the Shreddit Bro has Ominous, Lucky, and Overhaul. And Horizon has Monsoon, Shatter, and Triton. I want to see Horizon versus Triton. I want to see it.
Yeah, that's the fight we all want to see. Seriously, like, woo, that's power on power, and that's a whole lot of horizontal spinning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, Shreddit Bro, like, Ominous is another newer robot into BattleBots, so like, that'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Lucky, obviously, and Overhaul have a little bit more experience, being in BattleBots, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited, because yes, I also big heart to everybody on the Shreddit Bro team.
All right here, all back here.
Yes, exactly.
Mad love.
So the next one is Overhaul versus Starchild, which I know you were so excited. The debut of Starchild. I had not really been that familiar with it prior to this, and I'd never seen it like actually do its thing. And I have to say, like, it was really interesting. A lot of people compare it to Huge because of the wheels, but it's not really like Huge.
It's not at all. I mean, yes, the wheels, obviously, that's gonna associate any large bot with Huge. And yes, I mean, Brandon came out and said it was a cross between Huge and Sawblaze, and that was their inspiration. But at the same time, everything that they created with that thwack bot and that spinner was just so powerful and absolutely incredible. And I'm so excited to watch Brandon be able to dial it in the next few matches and really get control of that. He unfortunately flew in super last minute and had COVID like right before. So I'm sure that didn't work in anybody's favor. But oh my gosh, the robot itself is just beautiful and it looks gorgeous and I love it. And it's still going to win my heart every single match, no matter what.
Absolutely. I definitely thought it was really interesting. Very different from P1, which is, what he had come with before. So two extremely different robots. And I mean, for me in that match, it was excitement of seeing Starchild, but also what is happening with Overhaul? Like, I mean, I will say that in the I think towards the end of last season or in the Golden Bolt, Overhaul had a match and I was like, wow, they look really good. I think it was against Black Dragon. And I was like, they look really good. And I think whatever Charles did for that match, like he's kind of continued it into this season, because I'm like, wow, they picked up Starchild.
Like literally picked up Starchild.
Yeah, like that. It's nuts. I was so excited to see that.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible driving by Charles. Like just such a powerful robot to be able to take the hits head on but still get under it and take it for a ride and spin it around the box and even like suplex it like itself a little bit to get in that control was absolutely nuts.
Yes. this is the season of control bots. That's what we're going to talk more about that later, but this is a season of control bots. So yeah, I mean, I was really surprised because, you know, like given the past performance, I really thought Star Child could come in and, you know, do something, even though like it's a new bot, but I mean, Overhaul in the past has not had the best record. So I think that it surprised a lot of people. And I have to say that like the future matchups for both of these robots are some of the most exciting for like of any for me at this point, because Star Child has Mammoth, Gigabyte, and Huge, which I want to see all of those. And then Overhaul has Claw Viper, Cobalt, and Shredded Bro.
The Claw Viper Overhaul fight could get crazy.
I like in the past, if I saw that matchup on a schedule, I would probably be like, like I wouldn't be that excited about it. But this season, I am like, what? Like it, who knows? Who knows?
Literally.
Yeah. So just yeah, I'm like I'm at a loss for words, like really. So you know,
Gonna get spicy.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of other a bot that I've always believed in, but maybe others were skeptical of, that I think is just doing amazing this season, Quantum versus Gruff. So yeah, like Quantum is like Pac-Man this season. It's just eating everything. And I'm pretty excited about it because, you know, there's not been a ton of crushers and BattleBots, and typically they don't do as well. You know, that's part of the reason why Kraken has kind of modified its you know, weapon mechanism and all of that. So but Quantum, I think for me, I've always seen something different with them, where I felt that their ability to penetrate into a robot is a little bit better. You can definitely tell that they're a little bit more speedy, which also helps because then they can get around and get a hold of somebody really quickly. Gruff is known though for being extremely durable. You know, they're a tank. So to see them get manhandled like that was a little bit surprising, even though I know that Quantum has the ability to do that.
Oh yeah, and especially too because the like with the drivers being able to repair, like Gruff came out with special armor knowing that they were up against Quantum, and to still see Quantum be able to just get around on the side, take those chomps and just have a day was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're not messing around at all. And Quantum just looks beautiful and mean and scary and has so much power behind it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yes. I'm excited to see that, you know, that they've been able to take their time away from BattleBots. Again, like so many teams that are coming back after a couple years of hiatus, and really put a lot of good work into the robot to make it perform the way that they want to. That's exciting. And there's so many of these robots this season that in the past maybe weren't performing the way that their teams wanted them to, and they are this year, and that's like amazing to me. So I want to see more of that. Like this makes me very happy.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of robots right now, especially even after episode 5, once we get there, like that are 2-0, that you're like, okay, these guys figured it out. Like they are dialed in and they are ready to go, and it's gonna be crazy.
Yes, exactly. So the next match was, unfortunately, again, like the BattleBots has done so many rule changes to avoid all of this controversy, but somehow there still ends up being a match that there's a lot of controversy. And in this case, it was Malice versus Emulsifier, which like I will say, so Emulsifier, 2 losses, but they look good.
They look so good.
Yeah. So, you know, like they did have a good showing, but like you know, when I rewatched the match and they, you know, because they were driving around on their head and they self-righted themselves, and as soon as they got back over, they stopped. And I'm like, maybe they should have just stayed on their head. Like that, maybe they would have been okay then. Because I think that maybe it would have gone a different way. It's tough to say because Malice was pinned into a corner, not moving very well. You never know what would have happened. But like the big thing for me in this match is that I don't care how anybody feels about that. The rule is what the rule is, and
Right.
you can hate it, but that the rule says that if you are moving at all in any way, you're moving and you don't get counted out. And so nobody should take anything away from what Malice and Bunny were able to do in that match, because they won. Like, that's the fact. They won the match. Was it pretty? No, but I'm pretty sure that Bunny will take it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went back and watched it too. And I noticed that when Emulsifier was upside down, one of the times they tried to self-right is when they knocked into Malice and self-righted, or like got Malice back so that they were moving. And then I don't know if they got stuck or whatever when they flipped back over, but it was just kind of like, oh, that really stinks, because they came out, they had such hard hits in the beginning. They took it right to Malice. They got him right into the corner. There was so much aggression there. And then it just like stopped. And you're just like, oh my gosh, Matt, like, come on, Matt. Like, I want to see you win. And like, you're so close, but like, bad luck.
I know. And I almost wish that I had gotten to talk to Matt after this match, but when I had interviewed him, it was prior, so we didn't get to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, from my understanding, it seems like they may have gotten stuck on a piece of the floor or something like that. And I mean, it happens to everyone. It's unfortunate, but it's, like, for the people in the forums that are like, oh, we'll change the rules that if you get stuck on a piece of the floor, then you could get one free pass. The moment that happens to your favorite, or that happens to the person that's fighting your favorite robot, and then your favorite robot ends up losing because they were allowed to get taken off the piece of the floor, you're going to be upset with that rule. So like, sometimes it's going to work in your favor and sometimes it's not. And that's the fact.
100%. And like, the whole Emulsifier team is just such a good sport. And like, they know that they've created a powerful machine and they're ready to see it fight, but they have just gotten those two, like, unfortunately unlucky endings.
Yes. I mean, for me, though, at the very least, I would say that should be, those two fights should be enough for BattleBots to look at Emulsifier and say, that's a robot that I want to have back next season, because it really shows that it can do something. And nobody gets it the first season. Like, sometimes you have to get into that second or third season before you really start to see results. Like, look at Tantrum. There's lots of good examples of this. So it's nothing, 2 losses, that sucks. But at the same time, they were quality losses. Like, the bot still performed well.
Oh, 100%. And Malice proved its durability as well, to be able to take those hits and still keep moving and come out with a win. That's pretty good. And Bunny's not joking around. When she's got some serious knowledge and power behind her and her entire team, and she's incredible.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if anybody, like, seriously, you come for Bunny, then I'm gonna have something to say to you. So and so Malice has Valkyrie and Gruff on their schedule, and Emulsifier has Banshee and Quantum.
All right.
Could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Those will be some matchups.
Yes.
The Valkyrie Malice matchup will be pretty nuts.
Yeah. 2 like truly amazing female captains, like, going at it with 2 very good robots. Like, I'm excited.
Absolutely.
So the main event in that episode was Whiplash versus Hypershock. Both teams sitting at 0-1. That's a tough place to be, especially when both of them are good robots. So like, it really could go either way. And that if you don't win, you're going to end up in a whole 0-2, which is where no one wants to be. It was a good match. Again, I feel bad because I want to see Whiplash get it dialed in so bad, because I know, like, that robot is so good and I know how good it can be, but they just happened to go up against 2 really good opponents in their first 2 matches.
Yeah, and I mean, Whiplash had the hits early on. They got Hypershock upside down, and we all know that Will Bills doesn't like to be upside down, but really good on his wife for being such a fantastic coach and reminding him to gyro to flip back over, because as soon as he flipped back over, that was it. Game over. Like, dialed it in. He just kept delivering hit after hit after hit. And as soon as those batteries went flying from Whiplash, I was like, oh no. Oh, because I know that feeling, and it's not fun when your batteries go flying at all.
Yes, yes. And yeah, Alex is the Hypershock MVP. So yeah, that is one of those, like, he I'm sure he's very thankful for his wife.
Yes.
But
Definitely.
yeah, it like, and both of them have really tough schedule, like they have such tough schedules. What Whiplash has Monsoon and Tantrum on their schedule. And Hypershock, I mean, I think Hypershock may have been a little bit more afraid because they have Endgame and they have Claw Viper, which we will talk about that.
Yeah.
But in the past, I would have been like, oh, Hypershock versus Claw Viper, like whatever. Not anymore. Not anymore.
It matters now. Yep. We'll get there.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. I mean, that episode overall, it was, there were definitely some highlights for me. There were also a couple of matches that were kind of maybe not as exciting as I hoped that they would be. But still, like, I think we're building towards some really cool things later in the season.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. It was cool, and it was, that was the episode. We've seen all the bots, and now we'll just see how they go forward, and their schedules are pretty nuts.
Yes, exactly. So the episode from this past week, this is when I'm probably going to get pretty hype about just about every match that we're talking about, because there's something in every one that I'm like, have a thing about. So the first one would be Blip versus Huge. Now, the reason specifically that I'm like on about this match is that for me, that match is complete proof that Hydra could have absolutely gone against Huge without doing any kind of crazy fancy like thing, and probably been a competitive match. They might have been able to beat Huge without doing any of that. Right. So like, his Blip, I was surprised. Like, I didn't think Blip really was going to be able to do anything. And while they didn't like flip Huge through the air, they still were able to get under them and get some hits and do surprisingly well, up until Huge's blade ended up in Blip's face. And that's kind of where I think Huge solidified things.
Yeah, no, Aaron definitely knows what he's doing, and to have those little wedgelets to be able to let them get that grip on Huge's wheels, to even just pop them up in the air a few times, like, he shows that he's totally capable of being able to fight the big robots, even though he literally fits right underneath Huge. And when it comes to Jonathan Schultz and his entire team, like, I've had the pleasure of losing to all of them in Norwalk, and they really dialed it in this year, and it's so good to see. They joke that it's good to see Jonathan Schultz smiling, but like, it really is good to see Jonathan Schultz smiling, and to be so excited, and to have that team behind him with the Dorflers and our friend Brendan from Ramplan that I absolutely adore at Norwalk. Like, they really have it on, like, they are in it this year, and they're not messing around. And even going forward, to see, I know they still have to fight Starchild at the end, but these both robots, I mean, and Blip still has to fight its sister Tantrum, brother Tantrum, whatever it might be. But they both have tough schedules, but they're both so incredible, and it was such a good match.
Yes, it was surprising. Like, I didn't think it would be that good, but it really was surprisingly good. And yeah, it's tough for Blip because, I mean, we think of Blip as this super dominant robot in its rookie season, but I think like the schedulers had a plan in mind with this season of BattleBots, and they really gave everyone, I think, a good challenge. And it kind of shows how some people have been able to adapt to that challenge and others haven't. And I hope that Blip's able to turn it around. But obviously I'm so excited for Jonathan. Like he's probably one of my favorite people in combat robotics. I probably have like 20 people I say that about, but realistic, like there's a lot of people. Like he's just like a truly like kind and decent person, and I like to see him win. So to kind of see Huge have this success this season, like I'm so happy for that.
Yeah, no, I am too. And everything that they did at Norwalk, I mean, the Dorflers won the 12-pound championship, so like they have not messed around. They've played with this robot on every scale, and it 100% shows. And it's so cool to see, for sure. As a fan, like to be from Connecticut, to have that like home close by, just like, yeah, you love to see it.
Yes. And yeah, you kind of alluded to with their schedules. I mean, Blip has Tantrum and Banshee. Could be interesting there. Yeah, and I think that Banshee match, that's probably more from a scheduling perspective, a challenge for Banshee to be like, hey, you're the new flipper on the block, beat Blip.
Go.
And then Huge with Fusion and Starchild, which again, and we'll talk about Fusion a little bit more later, but like matches that in the past I would have been like, oh, Fusion's just going to catch on fire. You can't say that about this season.
Nope, not at all.
So yeah, and then so what, again, I already warned you about this beforehand, but one of the tangents that I'm going to go off on here is Claw Viper versus Ribot. So like, you know, people know, like I love control bots. I probably believe in control bots more than most. In fact, like I clearly remember when I talked to Pete Abramson, I said I would like Slammo to win the giant nut. And I think that Slammo can win the giant nut. So to see Claw Viper, I'm not 100% surprised, but at the same time, I am like, holy crap, what is this robot? Where did they come from? Oh my God. Because like Ribot is no joke. Like they were a number 2 seed last season. Like they have been consistently good, and Claw Viper freaking just manhandled them.
Yeah, it was definitely shocking, to say the least. Like, and Claw Viper had a really good showing in their first match, and then they just came out and like threw Ribot around the arena, and I was just like, oh, all right, Kevin, we're not playing this year, are we? No, like he is dialed in and he is ready to fight, and it, holy moly, when Ribot's eye went flying, I was like, oh, okay, all right, like David builds really strong robots. This is crazy, and to see them like take a whole chunk out of the left side and then have the right side drive go down and then just flip them over and spin them everywhere, it was like, okay. Yep. All right. Kevin came to play, and he is not messing around, and I am so excited to keep watching his matches.
Yes. Like if I had been there for that match, I would have been screaming. I probably would have lost my voice for the day because I would have been just like over the moon at what was happening. Like I just, in my wildest dreams, I don't think I could have pictured that. So I'm really excited. Like now everything that I said during the Golden Bolt, where I was like, oh yeah, like Defender is definitely going to beat Claw Viper. I take it back because like, not that Defender's a bad robot, but I mean like, holy crap.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So I don't know if Kevin Molcheski watches this show, but you need to come on for an episode just so that I can spend the entire time like ranting about how good Claw Viper is this season. Please give me that enjoyment.
Just sit there and take the praise, okay?
Exactly. That's all you have to do. Just sit there and enjoy, be complimenting your robot for like 30 to 45 minutes. That's
it. You don't even have to say anything. I got this.
Exactly. So yeah, that was an exciting match. Yeah. Probably not exciting for David, but yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, some people get a lot of enjoyment seeing their robot destroyed by another robot, right. You know, but it's, you know, it's a tough place to be. You know, they have Jackpot, they have Scorpios as far as the rest of their season schedule. Neither of those are cakewalks it by any stretch of the imagination. So like,
yeah, and I'm sure they had quite a bit of repairs after that encounter. So
I would imagine it looked pretty bad. Maybe they just needed to be like, okay, we're gonna put this one on a shelf somewhere, and we're
bring
gonna
a new one in.
Yeah, exactly. So then we move on to freaking free shipping versus Minotaur, which is it's just exciting because like obviously Minotaur, but free shipping, like Gary is one of my favorite people to watch, like flat out one of my favorite people to watch. And I'm excited that free shipping, I mean, they didn't win that match, but like is doing so well, and looking much better than they have in the past. But that was just like exciting to see two really good drivers with two really great robots going up against each other and seeing what would happen. I'll admit I expected more fire or possibly an explosion, but it was cool. Like I was happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love both robots, and you know, obviously the guys on Minotaur are fantastic, and I love watching how intense Daniel Freitas is as a driver, and then to watch him in an interview compliment Gary Jin and be so humble. You're just like, all right, but like it's so fantastic, and both teams are so good. I mean, obviously free shipping lost a fork, but Gary doesn't care. He just keeps driving, and he's still aggressive, and he's just like, listen, if you're going to come for me, I'm going to come for you, and we're going to play. And it's incredible to hear the spinner on Minotaur, like, come up to speed, and it's loud on TV. Like, it's only even louder in person, and the power behind that weapon is scary.
Yes. It definitely is. I can say for sure, obviously having been there myself, it's like it's crazy. And I'm excited that they've been able to come out and do so well. I mean, I expected it. I always expect Minotaur to do well. But, it was still like it was really good. I thought it was a great match, and yeah, just a lot of really good energy in that one. And speaking of energy, I always have to do these little segues, but so another match that I can say I didn't expect to be what it was Fusion versus Witch Doctor. I don't think people really understand. Fusion almost beat Witch Doctor, like very nearly beat Witch Doctor. Again, I know that was another controversial match, and some people think that they did beat Witch Doctor. I mean, I think that if Reese really felt like he should have appealed it, he would have appealed it. He was right there. Obviously, he saw what was going on. And I think probably what it really came down to was that last bit of the match that Fusion really wasn't moving much and able to really attack, and Witch Doctor still could. So, both robots lost their weapons. It was very close. Again, it was about as close as a match as you can get, but like, I'm sure that Reese is not unhappy with how Fusion performed in that match. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, to see Fusion come out and perform again and be able to have both weapons running for the majority of the match, to continue to take the hits, to deliver the hits, to go back and forth. There was one puff of smoke, but no fire, and be able to be durable. There's no way Reese has got to be upset with that showing, because he's figuring it out. He's dialing it in, and every match is a little bit better, and that's freaking fantastic. And you love to see it, like, without a doubt.
Yes. Even though I'm pretty sure that Andrea and Mike were not excited about that much damage being done to their robot, I think that you could even tell in the post-fight interview, like, the appreciation they had for how good of a match that was, and like that Fusion did so well. And again, like, that makes me happy, because it's somebody, being patient and not listening to the people that are like, this is never going to work, and just finding a way to dial it in and get it working the way that they always intended for it to work.
Oh, absolutely. And Witch Doctor is just such a cool robot, and to be able to deliver the back and forth and take those hits and deliver those hits, and obviously everything that they've done is so important, like so incredible. And to be able to have the self-writer still working at the end of the match, they see it and everything like that, like it was just such a good showing of both bots like really proving their durability, and that's super cool to see, from especially on the fusion side of things.
Yes, exactly. And I'll also add that Reese's post-fight interviews never disappoint.
No, he's just like the happiest guy alive.
the happiest guy that like is just like the lowest key level of happy that you can possibly be. That's kind of where he's at. So,
but he's fantastic about it.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, add to like the long list of people that I would love to have on this show for a variety of reasons. But so then we had Lockjaw versus Sawblaze, which obviously, again, I'm always excited to see what JMO's going to do, and especially against Lockjaw, who I was surprised that they had never fought before. I didn't realize that because they've both been doing this for a while. But, it was a really good match. I mean, I expected Sawblaze to win, but I always expect Sawblaze to win. So, but still, like, I think Donald isn't having a dominant season, but I think that he has to be really happy given how Lockjaw performed the previous year to go 0-4 and then have, a win and then a pretty decent showing against Sawblaze.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JMO is obviously incredible and isn't such a great driver, but to see him drive against such a strong driver and Donald Hudson, like it's cool to see like more of like a driving clinic and how they maneuver around each other and how they're still able to get in and deliver those hits and be able to go pretty far and go the distance and just be able to deliver the energy back and forth is incredible to see no matter who wins.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty good. Happy to see JMO get that win. I know he's definitely he's a favorite every year to win the Giant Nut. So I don't think that that's unexpected, but he's definitely high on a lot of people's list this year again, because Sawblaze, I mean, every year I think that he looks at, okay, what went wrong and figures out what he needs to do to change this thing here or this thing there. He's so serious about it. And I think that that's why Sawblaze is consistently so good, because he understands what he needs to do and he puts in the work. And like, there's few people that I think that have like quite that level of like being intuitive with their robot and like having the dedication to continually make it better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the other cool thing too is like even within the community, like even on the Discord, like for NHRL, like he's so involved and so responsive, and anybody that asks questions, like he's there to help, and he's just like an overall like awesome person. And so it's really cool to see like him do so well, but also know that at the end of the day, like he's pretty humble and like he'll just kick back and have a conversation and like, and then he brings like the fun, ridiculous robots to Norwalk, and you're just like, how do you not love him?
Exactly. Yeah. And Lockjaw has Glitch and MadCatter on their schedule, and Sawblaze has Scorpios and Hydra. Like that's a match I'm so hyped for.
Yeah, that'll be nuts.
Yes. So yeah, we've got that. And then there was a bonus match in there, which, wasn't really for any stakes in terms of, the round of 32, but Doomba versus Double Jeopardy, which was supposed to be Doomba versus Rusty Jr. Now kind of Doomba's told the story of how all of that went down. That's unfortunate because I would have loved to see Doomba versus Rusty Jr., but, it obviously like because Doomba, it seems they didn't have like really the proper prep time and things weren't completely secured down the way that they wanted to be. It wasn't a very long match because Double Jeopardy was able to open them up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I've been in that position where the robot opens up, and it's really not a place you ever want to be, but like big shout out to the Doomba team and that incredible just looking robot, because like to have the like the whole saw blade on the top and the googly eyes, and you just gotta love it. There's nothing but love there for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And if fans have not watched Doomba's audition video,
Oh my god, it's so good.
you need to get it and you need to watch it because
Go
it is
find
fantastic.
it, literally. It's so good. Go find it.
I have a lot of love for the Doomba team. You know, I recognize that from a design perspective, it's more fun than like super functional. But that's okay. Like I'm good with that. You know, there's something that will happen later involving Doomba that is really exciting that I can't talk about. But yeah, it was fun. I'm excited to see more stuff from them and hope that they do eventually fight Rusty Jr. because I'm picturing poor Rusty with like the chainsaw in the top of his head.
Oh,
I hope that doesn't happen, and maybe I do hope it does happen. I don't know, but
it could be both.
a little bit of both, yeah.
Could be both.
So yeah, so that was kind of an interesting like lead up to the main event, which there's a lot to unpack with that one, which is MadCatter versus Riptide. You know, to be honest, from a production standpoint, I'm surprised that they like leaned in so heavily to this whole link situation, because that's really more of a small bot thing. And, you know, it doesn't super have anything to do with BattleBots, aside from the fact that Riptide is very similar to Lynx. You know, but BattleBots doesn't normally bring up Norwalk bots so much. So it was a little bit interesting to see that. And I'm kind of torn as to whether I'm like, well, you know, of course they're going to use it because it's good TV and it creates drama, or like, did they really need to push it that heavy?
Yeah, it definitely had me feeling some type of way. Because obviously I've, seen Lynx in action at Norwalk, and I've seen Calvin win championships with it. It was cool to kind of see him walk out with it, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, they definitely played really heavy into it, and even like all the reels on Facebook and everything leading up to it, I was just kind of like, okay, this is how this is gonna go. Yikes.
Yeah. And to have some of those like little, you know, pieces in there be so blatant as far as like the accusations and stuff like that, I was a little bit surprised by, because, you know, for me, and this is something I really want to do some kind of a roundtable on this at some point, because I think it's a really good topic, but there is no issue whatsoever taking inspiration from other robots. And I don't think that anybody really disagrees with that, because I mean, there's only so many different designs that you can have. And, you know, it's natural to see a robot from years back or whatever and draw some inspiration from that and be like, I want to do something that's like that. But there's a line between that and doing something that's significantly like another robot. You know, not that there's a patent or anything like that, but I would say that it's probably more of a like, you know, agreement that, you know, without saying that you don't make a robot that's very similar to another robot, because people put time and work into that. And, you know, there's the whole aspect of, hey, if he, you know, if Calvin ever wanted to scale Lynx up, he can't do that now. So it's, you know, like it's a lot of things to look at there, and it's not an easy situation whatsoever. But it certainly created a lot of hype prior to the match.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of drama leading up to it. I don't necessarily know if it was needed, all of it, but you know, it is what it is. It happened, and it was definitely an explosive match. Riptide came out to play, and they didn't mess around, and they showed why. You know, they were very, very, very aggressive in the beginning, and that happened.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think that, you know, it was nice to see the MadCatter team be really gracious after that match and not, you know, not be nasty about it or anything. And you know, Calvin even to make the point that, like, Lynx was made to be an undefeatable robot. Like, it was. So, like, it proves that that is a good way to build a bot. You know, so not taking anything away from Riptide in that sense, because obviously they recognized this is a good design and this is something that's going to work. It's just like all of the complications around that.
Yeah, lots of feelings around it, and that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's, you know, we'll see where it goes. I mean, I think that it's interesting because not just specifically with Riptide, but I think something that I felt in general is there is a point where I think as a builder or driver where you can be too cocky and, you know, think, hey, no one's going to beat this thing. And when you do that, you kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision and assume that you're not going to lose and may not, like, put the you know, the time that you need to into looking at this thing or that thing to, like, make sure that it's where it needs to be. So it'll kind of be interesting to see how that ends up playing out into the rest of the season and into the tournament and all of that. But, you know, like, looking at the schedule, MadCatter has Big Dill and Lockjaw as their final two matches, and Riptide has Captain Shredderator and Black Dragon.
They're both vicious schedules. So, I mean, obviously, MadCatter took some damage and has some repairs and stuff to do, but that's what they do. That's what everybody does. You know, they go out, they fight, and they keep going. And so it'll be really interesting to see how both teams go forward.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll see if any of what's going on bleeds into future matches. We'll see how that goes. But, you know, overall, obviously that was, like, probably overall the most exciting episode that they've had this year, despite the controversy. But I mean, I think aside from just the main event match, there was plenty to be excited about in that episode. And I just can't wait. Like, there's a lot of exciting ones coming up. I know, and obviously we'll talk about it, you know, in a couple of weeks, but next week is in particular the one that I'm anxious to see is Endgame versus Ripperoni. Because we haven't seen Ripperoni since the first match. We know Ripperoni, you know, they definitely have some capabilities. Endgame is about as tough as you get. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. And yeah, like, just lots of really good stuff coming up, I think. And fans should be excited about everything that's to come.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely some heavy hitting matches coming up in the next two episodes. So it'll be really fun to cover when we come back, definitely.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, well, you know, for fans that watched, if you have any thoughts on, like, our takes on the matches, please let me know. Please, you know, comment and everything that you do. And if there is, you know, if there are teams that we're talking about that you want to see on the show, let me know that too. Claw Viper, please.
Kevin, call Christine.
Exactly. But yeah, so super exciting. Can't wait for the next episode. And yeah, just, you know, subscribe, all that stuff. If you love these breakdowns, please do that. And we'll see you next time on BattleBots Breakdown.
Yes.